This Nivesh Mahakumbh is a unique initiative from Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. I am KS Rao. I invite you all for this session, and I'll be your host as well as a moderator for the panel in the beginning. And before we go on, I request we'll start the session with our Aditya Vandanam.
सुवर्ण सदृशो भानुर्विश्वरेता दिवाकरः तच्चानि कराभाय हरये विश्वकर्मणे नमस्तमो विघ्नाय तुजये लोकसाक्षिणे
Thank you so much. Again, welcome back after a salutation to Lord Aditya. It is our customary to pay respect to the divine and start our session. And it's the Nivesh Mahakumbh. I invite you all for this session. Please ensure to stay on mute. Any questions you have, please use the Q&A platform. We'll try to answer as many as questions. Good evening once again. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm KS Rao from Aditya Birla Capital, and with me I have a very, very eminent panel and guest, our CEO, Mr. Bala, Mr. Dhirendra Kumar from Value Research, and Varun and Gaurav, Varun, CEO of Paytm, and Gaurav, Business Head from Paytm, and we have Swami Subbodhananda. And welcome to this Nivesh Mahakumbh. I know some of you are asking some questions which I could see in the mail. What is Mahakumbh, and how is that, what is that Mahakumbh is getting on, and how that is related to the investments? I respect that. And Nivesh Mahakumbh is something like path to living a good life. It is like we are all conversant with the word Kumbh, and we go to the Kumbh Mela once in 4 years. Probably the last one couple of years back, we would have been at Prayag and taking the dip at Ganges. I mean, crores of people who have come and taken a dip. I think today it looks like in the COVID time, was it possible? Is it happened? That's a kind, it's a pre-2019 world, how that could have happened. And we all go to Kumbh to take a dip. That Kumbh is taking a dip in holy Ganges to purify our soul. In the financial Kumbh, in the Nivesh Mahakumbh, this is similar to that, but it's the difference is there you are having a confluence of culture, knowledge, and spirituality. Here you have a confluence of your financial goals, your dreams and plans. I always call this as a GDP. We all worried about country's GDP is dwindling down. But how about our GDP? What is our goals, our dreams and plans? Today with us, all those experts meeting each one of us and through this mode and helping us how we can take a dip and also understand our financial life and purify our financial life. And you may be looking at this dip. How is that dip different from this dip? And Holy Ganges, I am physically taking a dip and praying for the divine. Here, taking dip is something I am understanding dip. DIP is an acronym. Friends, D stands for delayed gratification, I stands for impact of inflation, and P stands for power of compounding. These are the three letters. If we understand, our financial life always gets purified. These are the three letters symbolizes our entire financial literacy. Of course, post-COVID, our dip has changed a little bit. Thus, dip could be like, we need to have a discipline, not only our investment, but also in personal life. And I is something like, impact of informed investment decisions, because any dwindling on our assets has made us to lose so much. I think that's an impact of informed investment decision. And last P is when we're investing our money, we should have a patience and perseverance. That's the only thing we can go and understand. The only one truly understands the power of dip will enjoy financial well-being. Today's workshop, today's next 90-minute session is about how we can understand this dip. What is that we can do for our financial well-being? And before we go on the financial well-being, let me take to you about Nivesh Mahakumbh, a quick run through. This is our flagship investor education awareness program from Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. As most of you are aware, in the last 5 years, we started our journey with Janoge Tabi To Manoge, when you know you take a right decisions. And this is one of such initiatives. We have many such initiatives. And you're also aware Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Management is the fund house which is awarded for the best fund house for the investor education thrice from Asia Asset Management Company, which is even the last one is in 2020 on August this year. And the prior, apart from this, we have twice we got an innovative financial, innovative fund house in financial education. This is from Outlook Money. And this is the Nivesh Mahakumbh coming back. It is the first of its kind initiative. Nivesh Mahakumbh is a mega investor awareness meet we used to do on the grounds, and best of the brains of the mutual fund industry used to join us and help investors, seasoned as well as beginners, to tread the path towards the financial upliftment and transformation. And you can see the mega audience, mega speakers there. You can, at the backdrop, you can see the kind of things. It is started way back in 2015 in the central India, Jabalpur. And it has gone across the country. We started, like, it has moved from the Jodhpur to Guwahati, Chandigarh to down south in Belgaum and Hubli. And it's like, our one of the largest conclave was happened on September 18, 2018, September 15th. This is what at indoor stadium on the straight on my left on the screen. It is available to you, the glance. That is an indoor stadium, 5,800 people are in, and we have to say, sorry, we can't accept more. That's the kind of people coming for the Nivesh Mahakumbh to understand. Across the country, it is one of the mega one, and you have an industry experts, and the scale and impact, we always worked on it. And some of those speakers today are going to be with us in the virtual form and the digital form. We are going to have Mr. Bala, Swamiji, Dhirendra, and Mr. Varun, and the Gaurav we are going to speak. In the earlier platforms, we have like Honorable Minister with Nitin Gadkari and various other speakers, and a lot many intellectuals who are part of Nivesh Mahakumbh for us. And this was something unique in the industry, and celebrity speakers. And Nivesh Mahakumbh on the ground, we used to make it a lot of financial should not cause stress to you, financial should give a fun to you. And part of that fun game we made, entire investment is a very fun game where you can look at. And we all got used to taking selfies every day in and day out. We had a tool called Smart Selfie, which is available on the website. You can take it. And I keep telling my youngster friends, बेटा सेल्फी लेना तो सेकंड्स का काम है, जब निवेश करते हो ना वो समय देना पड़ता है, जैसे आपकी इमेज बढ़ाने के लिए, इमेज बनाने के लिए भी टाइम वक्त देना पड़ता है. ऐसी साथ साथ we used to have lot of skits, lot of games. It is a truly a celebration of your life, celebration of financial life. It is a this is a glimpse of what we are doing today. Probably we may not give that experience, but we will assure you that we give an experience of the understanding the best possible in the 90 minutes time what you can do. End of it, friends. This is an awareness program. Awareness gives only periphery. You need to go on depth. Later we are available. You can come to our website and you have a wonderful modules which are available to you. And we have quite a big engaging modules which are available to you. And let me get back, and we are going back to money today. Before our speakers are coming in, I'll take another 5 minutes to brief you. And end of it, friends, we have come from, I think today we have little over 4,700 people registered. And on all the platforms together, we may have 10,000 odd people which are watching this. Thank you so much for taking your time. And of course, friends, we speak many languages. Today in the four walls, when we are remaining, there is one language we are speaking to ourselves, and when this virus will end. But the biggest thing, money speaks one language. Is it Hindi? Is it English? One of my friends, Gaurav Mashruwala from Gujarati, says, I am a Gujarati, I speak one language, money. I'm not talking about jokingly on that, but here is a money speaks one language. Money language is something like this. If you save me today, I will save you tomorrow. आज मुझे बचाओ, मैं कल तुझे बचाऊंगा. और पैसे आगे कहता है लोगों से, जब तक आप नीचे हो, मैं आपको बहुत ऊपर ले जाऊंगा. तब आप ऊपर जाते हो, मैं आपके साथ कभी नहीं आऊंगा. That's the reason money lies on the 4G principles of the world. Now, I'm not talking about the 4G of telecom. I'm talking about the 4G of the money. 4G of the money is you get your money, you earn your money, either you're an employee or entrepreneur or the business, whichever the way you are doing. And first G is you get your money. Second G is you need to guard your money. It is your hard-earned money. You need to protect your money. Third G is protecting is does not sufficient. You need to take care of inflation. You have to grow your money. And last G is you have to give your money while you are going back. That's the fourth G, and that's what we call estate planning. Of course, some of our sessions we will definitely very differently. You can come there and you can be part of us. And It is Warren Buffett who said best investment you can make in investment is in yourself. Today, I'm sure in the next 90 minutes, you are going to make your investment in yourself, and the more you learn and the more you will earn. I'm sure that is going to be the order, and we can look at. And I'm just looking at 2019. I have shown you, showcased you a lot many photo frames of our glory of the past where we can celebrate. We are all the social beings. But 2019 to 2020 world has changed. In 2020, in the beginning, I was very ambitious, very visionary, and we are creating some platform called 2020 vision for us. But unfortunately, now 2020 vision has gone out, and we are talking about 2021 vision. The 2020 vision looking at to people UVWQ QSRT kind of it. When I go to optometrist, he will check for me whether recovery is U, whether recovery is V, whether recovery is W, or whether recovery is elephant. That's what we are going to discuss. I think Bala and others are going to brief us. I think 2019, this cartoon this depicts to us. There is a mobile not allowed in the school, and 2020, coming to school is not allowed, but please watch through your mobile. Means rules of the game has changed. There is a new normal, there is a new reality. And I'm a coach. In my coaching, I always use a methodology called 4D for my coaches, which I call discovery, dream, design, and destiny. And this point of time, we have discovered our value of life. Then we need to dream for the better life, we need to design our better life, and we need to destine to reach. For that, the resilience is the need of the hour for us. And situation is forcing us to reinvent. There is no, and unfortunately we can't have any excuse to say no one to blame for this COVID. We all need to take care of us, and there is something is making us to live. That is a will to survive and want to thrive. In the process of this, I'll take you to the different level, and I'll narrate just to take a break and give you one small story. Albert Einstein in 1948, he was teaching in Princeton University. From 1935 he is teaching, but 1948 one thing has happened in his life. There was a batch of 1948 students. Albert Einstein set a question paper, and the same batch, when they are moved to second year of their course and 1949, and Albert Einstein called them for the examination, and he gave a question paper. Suddenly Albert Einstein's assistant had seen this question paper, and he asked to the Professor Albert Einstein, Professor, you have given the same paper, there is appears confusion. Can I go and change this paper? I think this question the people have already answered. Then the Albert Einstein answers to his assistant saying, friend, questions are the same, but answers have undergone change. And similarly, friends, 2019 or 2020 questions are the same for us, the financial planning, but the answers have undergone change. Probably earlier, Dhirendra, when I talked to him on Hangouts, he used to say long-term planning to start with the long term. Today, we keep a vision of long term, but we plan for the short term. Next 2 years, can I put my contingency fund? I think we can deliberate this, and we can go back that. I think Peter Drucker, who said sometime, I love one of his famous quotes is, the greatest danger during the turbulence time is not the turbulence, but it's acting with the yesterday's logic. How we can go to today's logic? Let us look at our financial well-being. In these changed circumstances and the stressed moments, our financial well-being is the most important thing we need to take. I think I would like to say something here. There is a study conducted by Gallup's. Gallup's conducted a study on the wellness itself. And wellness construct of the Gallup, it talks about on the broad wellness of an individual, which is a career well-being, social well-being, financial well-being, and emotional well-being, and physical well-being. Today we are dealing two subjects, financial well-being and emotional well-being. Both are intertwined with other well-beings. Let us look at how we can look at our financial well-being differently. And what is a financial well-being? You may be asking that question. The goal is to achieve our financial well-being. It's a state of healthy living, but a state of wealthy living. We are making a better financial choices with a knowledge and planning. I think with our eminent panels, we can get that knowledge and planning. And it's a time for us to, after these 6 months of the lockdown, and it's opened up, and we need to look at now, we need to refresh everything, and refreshing the finances is the most important thing. I think the terminology for us have gone a lot of change today. Today we have talked about new normal, we talk about the crisis, we have to calamity and immunity and antibodies. Our language has changed. If there is a language change in the finances, of course there is a fresh god in the finances. The fresh god in the finances is like I know now we are playing 13th IPL at Dubai. Earlier, when it is IPL comes in, like I stay in Bangalore, it is a celebration time. We go and make a lot of noise in the stadium, and even the cricketers, they enjoy that noise. Today, cricketers play without the stadium, without the audience, but we all watch. But probably we have lost that fun. Similarly, we lost the fun on the ground. There are pain to many of us. Today's morning newspaper, if I can look at, 66% of the Indians are impacted with their financial, there is a loss in their pay cut, or loss in salary, or reduction in income. And this change in lifestyle, and there is a health concerns. And to take fresh God, we need to refresh our finances, and we need to look at our income. We need to look at our expenses. We need to go back and assets and liabilities. I think end of this session, we are going to post it on our chart section, a wonderful book where you can go back and sit at home, write down what are it's your entire financial journal. You can just download. It's a free book which is available. And end of it, you need to ensure this juggle of liquidity, insurance, and goals. I think we deal with this. And of course, along with this, every money is invested with emotions, and you need to take care of emotions. And this unforeseen, unprecedented global crisis caused a lot of emotions, anxiety. We are looking at with anxiety. And sometime back, we are running a workshop called Need of the Hour, HOUR. That is a hope, optimism, understanding, and resilience. Today, we would like to work with that hope, optimism, understanding, and resilience. And there are 3,600 emotions we all deal with. But when it comes to money, we need to deal with 5 emotions. That is a fear, hope, greed, and confidence, and regret. How we can look forward, how we can go forward, and how we can restart our financial goals. We need to just prioritize our financial goals. Not everything is important. What is the important is the most important. I think as Stephen Covey always used to tell in this, it is most of the books we can see what is urgent and important you need to handle now. And what is that, like not urgent, not important, we can postpone. Probably your health is the most important, but equally your health insurance is equally important for you. And you need to manage your wealth, and taking that is most important. Your family and friends and relationships are important, and you need to live happiness. That could be your importance. And it is not the return on investments today. We need to look at return on life. Your return on life in the entire gamut of investing to the estate planning. How we do, how we go forward. And last but not the least, it is a time for us to declutter ourselves psychologically, financially. The decluttering our life can make a lot of difference. And with this things, end of it, refresh your emotions, take stock of your finances, reset your emotions, start with a positive attitude, and restart your life goals. Live with the life of your choice. And with this, we redesign your life. With me, I have wonderful speakers, and I'll introduce our panel here. Mr. Bala is my boss, and is our CEO at Aditya Birla. Is a managing director and chief executive officer at Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. He comes with a 28 years of rich experience. He was also a portfolio manager of fixed income and equity earlier. He oversees the 2.5 lakh crores of assets under him management under ABSL AMC today, and he also oversees our global businesses on the our subsidiaries at Singapore and Dubai, and also alternate business and real estate. And he was awarded with the best CEO of the fund house, best in India of the mutual funds in 2018 and 2020 from Asia Asset Management. And Bala is closely associated with the many industry bodies, and currently is on the board of NISM, and of course he is on the committees of many committees of our regulator at SEBI. And Mr. Bala is fondly known as Bala, and he was the chairman for Amphi earlier for 2 years. Now he works as he's a director at Amphi, and he works very closely with. Apart from that, I can explain about him is he is highly philanthropic, and he contributes a lot to the philanthropy. And glad to have Mr. Bala here. And thank you so much, Bala sir, and welcome. And the next speaker for us is I have Mr. Dhirendra Kumar. And Dhirendra again doesn't need any introduction. He's synonymous with the mutual fund industry. Probably 1990 when he started the value research. Today with the 30 years of rich experience, I think mutual fund would have evolved from him from the alphabets to today wherever it is a growth phase. I think it is looking at. And he comes with a lot of wisdom and practical insights. And the investors always it is core to his mind. And he is always takes care of investor importance, and is I think is very independent, very neutral, and working with him is a joy. And I cherish his friendship always. And then comes for the third speaker, and let me introduce Mr. Varun. Thank you so much, Varun, for being here, and welcome to this session once again. And Varun is a CEO at Paytm. Varun led the digital transformation journey. Varun has led the digital transformation journey and at some of the retail banks, India and abroad. And he was earlier CEO of Finshell India and Realme and some of one fintech platforms on mobile which he created. And he was with the BNP Paribas, and I think he played a very vital role at the acquisition of Sher Khan. And he's the one who was scaled up the digital business. Today, probably thanks to Paytm, post demo, I think without Paytm we would not have lived our life well. And thanks to that digital journey, I think entire 6 months, our life has become better. Probably money has not gone out of our purse, but Paytm has helped us to get, and every vendor on the corner can look at a Paytm, and Paytm money has brought a lot of innovation to us. And glad to have him here. Let us see his perspective on the digital, and we can listen from him. And his qualifications is much bigger. He's in management MBA from prestigious SDA, Bocconi School of Management, Milan, Italy. He is a graduate and from University of Delhi. Today we have two people who are from the Delhi, and of course, last I would like to introduce is Gaurav. Gaurav Seth is heading the business and growth at the Paytm. And in fact, I thank personally Gaurav and team to make this initiative to combine together, which has come. And Gaurav is earlier heading that Morgan Stanley Wealth Management at New York, leading the digital transformation. And he is a firm believer of technology. I think, and the last speaker for us is Swami Bodhananda. I'll introduce him as he comes. Swamiji is a profound corporate guru and is a great motivator, great speaker. He's well acclaimed. I mean, I think even in this lockdown, he has done something phenomenal. We will introduce as the second session comes in. And friends, this investor education coming to you from us. And anything you have with the stock markets or mutual funds, you can always look to the SEBI. And SEBI is a regulator for India. You are all aware. And please write to SEBI on this. And SEBI's email ID and the website is available. You can get anything about the mutual funds you like, you don't like, you can always get there. And we are glad to have a very proactive regulator in the country. With this, I'll stop here and I invite the panel. May I have Balasar to make his camera visible to us? Mr. Bala?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, sir. Sir, good evening and thank you so much for being here. We start the first question with you, and I have a wonderful panel, and it's a privilege for me to moderate this panel with the three eminent personalities. I'm very glad each one of them, as I explained, they come with a different backgrounds and rich experience. Bala sir, to keep it short and like we have large audience today, we are very glad we have over 5,000 people across and various channels together. It could be 10,000 people who are watching us today, and ensure that every minute of them is valued. I put straight direct question to you. It's the question to you I would like to is talk with Indian economy first. Financial well-being comes with the nation well-being. Bala sir, we are all talking about achieving financial well-being through investing. This webinar, this Nivesh Mahakumbh is your brainchild, which is, we are talking on the financial well-being. During these unprecedented times, while economy is struggling to meet the GDP targets, please throw some light on the current state of Indian economy, because everyone is worried whether to invest, whether to pause, because economy is in the pause or I am in the pause. We do not know. Investors are asking, and for the financial well-being of the nation is most important to take investment decisions. Where do you see the silver lining in the future? And current GDP, people are little worried. Is this a worrisome, or the investment doesn't matter? It has to go forward. Over to you, Bala sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Rao, and it's my pleasure to be part of this digital Nivesh Mahakumbh with other esteemed panel members, both Virendra Kumar and Varun and Gaurav from Paytm. As you rightly put it, this was one of our Untitled mutual fund, Nivesh Mahakumbh, that we started doing at the physical, as a physical event across the country. And I'm quite happy to see a similar event being done in the digital format, reaching out to more number of people as part of Untitled mutual fund service to the nation of bringing the knowledge of mutual fund investing as a concept, and also to help investors as much as possible to know more about various things that affects the economy, various things that impacts the mutual fund, and various things that could help the investors actually put their money into the mutual funds. With respect to your specific question on the economy, that definitely, of course, as it is known and widely believed, the GDP growth everywhere is gone into the negative, especially in India, is quite severely affected, given the fact that we have a large economy, taking a bold call that we put the economy into a shut for a brief period of 1 month, 1.5 months, 2 months, it became now almost 6 months. And while the economy is gradually opening, purely on the back of what was felt that how the economy is going to get impacted in the first 2 months in between April and May. that got completely changed as time progressed, with the demand for some of the consumer durable goods started coming back in the month of July, August, and September. We have seen some bit of uptick in the two-wheeler sales and car sales. All means that consumer buying back behavior is gradually coming back. And the single most credit I'll give this for, even I said this in a different forum with one of the leading magazines some time back, which is the single most credit I would give it to Reserve Bank of India. The central bank governor have cut the interest rate quite sharply ahead of time in the month of March. And since then, we have been seeing liquidity quite high. Interest rates have been coming down. Inflation is under control. And at the same time, the transmission of interest rate, we normally call it, that interest rates, high interest rates cannot prevail too long in an economy like India. The interest rate has to be brought down. And without doing anything, Reserve Bank of India governor, which could not be, which none of them could do actually in the past, this governor has done it in making the transmission of rates real for the simple fact that they have cut the interest rates and liquidity high. Second, from the government of India point of view, they have taken many steps with respect to giving the stimulus to the economy. One such stimulus that they given, the way I think US has done, giving a credit guarantee for MSME borrowers, so that the banks are in a position to have a lot more confidence to go and give money to the MSME during the tough time. That also has helped in real sense giving money to the needy borrowers so that they can remain alive and they're able to run the business and meet their liquidity requirement, while of course building up the future plans quite nicely. And lastly, of course, with respect to the same, the global economy, as we all know, that it's of course rates are low and struggling, especially in terms of growth coming back. But the equal amount of fight that has gone in coming out of the COVID crisis by most of the economies, especially starting from US, the extent they have done this time is actually far higher than what we have done in 2008 crisis, post-Lehman Brothers crisis. At the same time, this time what they have done is highly impactful compared to what they had done in the last time, which took for almost 2 years to have an impact, see the impact. But at this time around, they have done it so fast in a matter of 3 months. It had its own impact in the form of stock market coming back as quick, as fast as it fell in the month of March. The same speed at which it has come back purely in the back of the conviction and confidence that came back from most of the people that yes, the regulators are this time acting more sensibly, keeping in mind the COVID is not a one country issue, it is a world issue, therefore it has to be tackled differently. So that's something I see it. So that's a result of that. Some of the silver lining that I'm saying in addition to that is the commodity price getting stabilized is something which is clearly visible with the demand supply situation today is becoming more towards demand, the less of supply, not incremental demand, but the normal demand exists with the less supply. That brings in price stability. The price stability coming in itself is in some sense confidence returning to the economy, especially in the China is one of the consumer of metals and consumer materials. That's something if it comes back, we'll probably see the next 6 months to a year or so, we'll probably see the uptick coming on the economic growth, purely led by low interest rate, high liquidity, and commitment from the government across the world is very high in terms of reviving the economic growth back and bringing back the consumer confidence. Therefore, I'm hopeful that the current pandemic situation comes to an very fast, maybe the next 3 or 4 months time frame. And then a vaccine, I think what as everybody has been expecting, hope something comes in that direction to bring back the economic growth to normalcy first, and then look for a growth.
Thank you so much for that, Bala sir, and thanks for bringing with the optimism note. And it's always that I think Nick Murray who said the world does not end, but it only appears to be ending from time to time. A surprise is the mother of panic. And you always used to tell us there is always a good surprises. Why you always look at negative surprises? I think thanks for that. Friends, I think patience and discipline are key for investments, and keep that optimism. And I'll go for the next question to Mr. Dhirendra. I continue this. Dhiren, I'll just start with you from where Bala sir has left. I would like to Like the world has changed from the March 2020, and we will be able to tell our coming generations of this season, we are living through what kind of we are living. I think it's a once in 102 years. I think it's a like once in 3 generations one, and probably we are going to speak to the we are talking to the next generation whenever they are after this we forget, and 2023 onwards we speak about this pain and the harm and all that. But in addition, in the all engagements of you, I have seen there is a wisdom, and you are sharing the lot of optimism of, I mean, I was part of some of those initiatives with you. And investors are, but irrespective of this, today we have large people who are watching us, but most of the investors where I interact, they are viewing their portfolios with anxiety, and the stock market swings all violently back and forth. Like for example, day before yesterday, 900 points up, and yesterday 800 down, and there are uncertainties about how much money to keep as a liquid cash, because NIDA dark for us everyone is could be a contingency fund. Our emergency fund is adequate. How much emergency fund? Earlier we used to say 3 to 6 months. Now we are talking about even 2 years emergency fund depend on. Adding to this, since Value Research has done a commendable job in helping investors to take an informed decisions, I think the kind of work you do every week with a lot of your interactions and sessions, I really commend on that. Please let the audience know about your thoughts, since this is a session of the financial well-being with relations to the investments and mutual funds. Can you also help me understand how mutual funds enable the financial well-being for the individuals? Over to you, Dhiren.
Mutual funds, do very simple things. In fact, people have their own definition that mutual funds do some magic, but they do some very simple things. One is that they provide you convenience. Investing for short term, investing for medium term, investing for long term, instant diversification. And the convenience bit is, being able to put a plan in motion with great simplicity. If you want to do your 500 rupee, and with the whole digitization, the automation of the bank, the digitization of the bank, the ability to give a standing instruction that 500 rupee be debited from my account on 1st of every month and be invested somewhere, which in turn will be invested in something like 40 stocks, and it happens instantaneously, and it happens for many years. So the simplicity of it, and your ability to accessing, enabling access to a market, fixed income funds enable access to investors, which is otherwise not accessible to them. And professional management of an equity fund and instant diversification enabled for an investor with great convenience or simplicity. I think this is the primary delivery. But I think one has to look at a much simpler picture in terms of, the question that you're asking, where, you're referring to Einstein saying that, the questions remain the same, but the answers have changed. I would say that the questions did not, the answers did not change around this crisis this time. Just that, this shock, the wake-up call, because of the unprecedented, scale of this problem, actually forced us to, the number that you were saying, that 66% of Indian income earners are worried, or their income has been impacted. I would say that it could well be even the people whose income is not impacted, their mind is quite impacted, because it has driven a great deal of uncertainty even in the minds of people who may not be who may not be losing their job. There may not be an income reduction. Because we see the horrifying picture around that, overnight the economy or the business activity or all kind of professional activity can come to a standstill and remain like that. It was unthinkable. So the sheer scale of surprise that is there in this event is something which is forcing people to reprioritize. Earlier we used to talk about emergency fund. But I don't think it was taken seriously, because for years together people have been getting their promotion, going to their job, and were assured of getting their salary. Suddenly, even if you haven't lost your job, you are worried. The people who are, who will be in the placement season this time, they will be worried where they will get their job, what will be the starting thing, how durable that income is going to be. So whether you are impacted or not, everybody is impacted. And I think, these questions that, the list of things or sequence of things which any thoughtful investor should be doing, I don't think that changes at all. A little bit of it will change, like you should have your emergency fund, you should have your contingency fund, because without foundation, you cannot build on something. Financial planning is a very long term, it is beyond your lifetime, because you have to plan for things One, you don't know, you just might be living longer. So without that foundation, but it was never a priority, because your cash flow, or the assurance about your cash flow from your income, you're so assured of that was your emergency fund. Then came, how to segregate your medium, health insurance, life insurance. It has come on the forefront. Things look so fragile now, or the experience of fragility has been is something which is quite scary. So people are taking things more seriously, and I don't think one should look at those 5, 7, 8 principles. And personal finance, or managing your personal finances, is more about few things to be done and a lot of things not to be done. And I think it is about time that people just we need reinforcement of those concepts, because in these times the likelihood of somebody getting distracted, because we just might panic at the wrong time, we just might panic, or we just might get exuberant at the wrong time, and that could be devastating for you in the long run, because we are not in a very stable state of mind given our own context or our own situation or what we are seeing right now. So I think this is time that we should actually remember our principles. We should list the things of don'ts which should never be done, and stay on course, because the reward for staying on course is very high. Because I think the basic principle that long-term money be invested in equity, whether it be through funds, whether it be through stocks, or whether it be through a conservative vehicle like a equity income fund, or a aggressive hybrid fund, whatever it be. But mind you that this is a crisis, this is a calamity, but this too will pass. And in 2-3 years time, we just might look back and say with regret that, oh, we changed our track and we missed a big opportunity. You will have the regret. I think we have to take a general bet on the economy. We have to be an optimist. And in between, there could be and how to devise your strategy, simple strategy which will help you overcome and navigate this journey. Because if you are not on an automated plan, you are likely to get distracted, because every day is completely different from from yesterday. We see it, and markets has always been like this, but more so now. And the corporate mortality can actually come on the forefront. So I think, these are times when you should actually be listing 5 things to do and 10 things which should never be done, and remind yourself every other day.
Thank you so much, Dhiren, for the detailed answer with a lot of wisdom. I think, as Benjamin Graham said, the investor's chief problem is the even worst enemy is he himself or she herself. Investing is not a number game, but it's a mind game. I think we can't put it in a better words than what you put it. And financial well-being always a 5 steps to go forward. And one is to achieve your identical financial objectives. Second is controlling day-to-day finances. Third, to cope with the shock. That is the most important. I'm sure with this coping with the shock, we have all learned now, I think, and how to get the new options in the life. And end of it, we need to have a clarity and security to people who are living behind. I think with that clarity, I'll just move to a very different theme, very different concept to get Varun here. And Varun, good evening and welcome here. And it's glad to have you here. And it's like, the Paytm. I mean, I tell in my financial education sessions for anybody to plan your finances. The personal finances person comes before the finance. And as a person, what you need to do for your finances, you need to have a Paytm. I mean, not the Paytm app. I also something more, pay to myself. You need to pay to yourself first, how you are investing for yourself. That's the most important. Taking that aside, I would like to have this question to you. The platforms like Paytm has made it is very easy to invest. I think, my CEO Bala always talks about our active account, swipe left and swipe left, your investment and disinvestment happens. And at the Paytm money, I get that comfort and made it easy to invest for the investors. And of course, in the current scenario with the micro investing options being there, what is your view of the mutual funds reaching out to the masses? By riding this digital innovation, digital expansion, which is your core theme and which you are working and which your dream, and what can we do as a market participants to get a dream of 300 million Indians to invest in mutual funds? In fact, we had a theme called Ghar Ghar Mein Mutual Fund. That was our ambition to have. And Bala sir always talked to us, can we have a 542 branch MP locations? We have a presence for us. And over to you with the digital presence. By 542, we have 6,500 villages in the country we can reach out. Over to you, Varun.
Thank you. First of all, very happy to be here. Very happy and good evening, Bala, Dhiren, and Swamiji and Mr. Rao. Very, very happy, and Gaurav. I maybe first of all, a very interesting definition of Paytm. I've never heard that. I want to pass it back to Vijay. Saying pay to me. But I'll maybe take a slightly different context, right? Fundamentally, for me, finance is boring. Okay, and I say this heading a finance company, having done 18 years of finance. Money is boring. Nobody wants to manage. And as I think time has become younger, people have changed, life has become faster, life has become shorter. Finance has to find the reason why, right? And I think what's happened during Corona is special because all of a sudden people woke up in the morning and had these few extra hours to say, hey, what about my money? Maybe I should start thinking about what my money is going to do. And I think that's brought about a whole new generation of investors to India, which I really appreciate, right? Because I think there's a whole new set of people. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I'm in Bangalore and I was talking to some young people and I asked them this question saying, hey, what do you think about mutual funds? And surprisingly, if I'd asked a question 1 year back, most of them would have, told me an answer saying, hey, I want to travel, I want to do this, I want to do that. Who cares for mutual funds, right? And yesterday, for the first time, I found everybody has opened an equity market trading account. Everybody's decided that he or she is better than value research, Morningstar, and everybody can time the market. And that was funny for me, right? So I was having a very funny conversation saying, hey, look, why do we need Paytm money? We are the best punters in the market. We know how to run this, right? So we know how to get in and get out. And everybody's sitting on these nice profits made over the last 4 months. They figured that their financial planning is done, right? And then a couple of them started to talk about something very nice, which I realized and I really liked about the way they spoke. They said, hey, we understand, and right now we are scared. And I think, Mr. Rao, you brought out the Monday, Tuesday stock market going up and down 700, 800 points. And they start to slowly realize the value of that. So there's this whole set of people now who have started to, I think, get up in the morning and say, what's happening with my money? Can I make my money work harder? But having said that, I think finance still remains boring, right? Nobody wants to actively work hard on this. And I think the question there, what we've seen at Paytm Money, so we are, now first in India on SIPs, we're doing very well. We see a lot of new consumers coming in. The question there is very, very different, and the kind of consumers we see and what their needs are starting to be different. So if I may, I'll split it in 3 buckets. First, they're all starting to think short term. So many of them are setting goals like, I want to go and travel outside India after this Corona is done. Can I do an SIP for that? I would have never imagined. We used to do all this goal-based planning and saying, hey, can you do that? But now people are doing it, right? Naturally. The second thing people say is, hey, look, maybe one day my boss calls me and says, hey, you have to change your job. I don't want to be anymore at his or her mercy. I want to enjoy my life, my well-being. They don't talk about financial well-being, which is, which I miss that they don't do it, but they talk about their well-being a lot, right? And so finance is an integral part of it. So we start to say, hey, if Corona happens again, and if I am almost jobless or I have to do a job that I don't like, I just want to say, thank you, boss. I'm not interested in this anymore. And I want to set up my own startup. And to do that, I need a corpus. So there's a mid-level planning happening. And these are not needs that you've seen before. And I think the third thing that has happened, maybe in the age group 35, 40 plus, is we started to see people saying, hey, look, when I'm 50, 55, and if I actually lose my job, I need a corpus. And back to Dhiren's point, I think very correctly mentioned that people need to think long term. So we see these clear trends happening. And as Paytm, I think, my team has done a fantastic job building a magical platform. But I go back and every time I've done this, and, Bala and me met, I think 2.5 years back in a very different context. And the first thing I told Bala was, I said, when are we going to launch a 1 rupee mutual fund, right? And when would Indians get to start saving in 1 rupee? Because then it's fun. People enter and exit. And I'm very happy to say today that as Paytm Money, I see people doing 100 rupee entries. They just want to see what happens. And then there's a whole question, oh, what happened to my money? Where did it go? What is this Aditya Birla AMC? They want to trace. So they track and then they exit. And once they exit, they're very confident that the money actually came back, right? And then they start increasing. And I think that's a whole new set of culture that is getting created. And, I like Mr. Rao when you said, hey, how can we get to 300 million Indians? I would love that we have 1.2 billion people. We have 800 million people with bank accounts. And I'm sure all of them at least have 10 rupees to spare. That together with the regulator, together with the AMCs, together with the research teams, we are able to design something so simple, stupid, and fun that you on your phone go right and the amount goes in and you go back and you're back in Goa or, in the northeast of India doing a holiday with the same amount of money. And I think that's the future. as market participants, we have a very supportive regulator that helps. I think we have an industry finally that has woken up. I'm very, very happy because transaction costs, the way we work, everything will change. So as we go along, I'm really excited to see this, and we're looking forward to this. We'll do our job of doing all-in-one QR code. Today across India, if you see an all-in-one QR code, you feel happy. It's the job that Paytm has done. I would love to do that for mutual funds together with all of you. Right? It has to become that easy and that simple. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Varun, for a wonderful answer and the optimism. And when Bala served as the Amphi chef, and we started a campaign at Amphi Mutual Fund Sahi Hai, with the digital platforms coming in, Mutual Fund Saral Hai. I think हमारा ड्रीम घर घर में म्यूचुअल फंड की फोलियो शायद काफी आसान है और मुश्किल नहीं होगा. शायद we will go forward. Thank you so much and for a wonderful answer. Bala sir, I'll come back to you. And in the financial markets, as an investor, including myself, we hate uncertainty. It is during this uncertain period that pricing of the asset becomes very difficult, and which negatively impacts the market prices and securities. And history and fundamental theory suggests that when the things are going to normal, the fear goes away, the market brings the prices to the normal level. But as you earlier said, now neither the virus has gone nor the fear from the mind has gone. But markets have recovered and markets have gone up more than faster than anticipated. I mean, having heard you from many a times, you speak about VUCA world to us. And how do you see the current times? Though you said silver lining earlier, but different, similar to the past instance where the financial markets shocked the investors. What is your advisors for the audience handling their, earlier you spoke about the economy broader globally and India, but for me as an individual to invest my money in the mutual funds, what is your advice to the normal investor?
Yeah, I think interesting, Rao, having seen market cycles since the 1990s, every time the market there, which puts a brake on the growth momentum that probably would have prevailed at point of time, and then it takes time actually post that for a similar sentiment to come back, and then it comes back for some initiative that is being taken either here or globally or in any other means, again things come back. If you have to see in the 1999 tech bubble, when we saw 1992 scam, Harshad Mehta scam, we saw the 99, we saw a bubble in the technology world, and then subsequent to that, even 2008 crisis, when we saw, all of us came to conclusion especially in 2008 crisis, that the world has come to an end. And that's the time I remember some of these leading companies in the world came with the concept called the world is going to remain as the VUCA world, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That the world is a new world is going to be in that behavior only. At the same time, in order to stay in the business, we need to relook at the business model. That's where most of the companies started relooking at the business model in post-2008 crisis. And the same thing which we saw in 2011, I think after 2008 crisis, the market did not go anywhere for a considerable period of time. And almost for 1 year, 2 years, I still remember some of the investors at that point of time calling me and asking a question in 2017, peak of the market, they made an investment. And then they, not 17, sorry, 2007, that's the peak of the market, they made an investment. And then 2008 and 2009 was painful, 2010 was painful, 2011 was painful. And most of the people used to ask this question, well, should I redeem, should I stop my SIPs, what should I do? So single answer I used to have, if your money is invested, or you have invested, it is with a purpose, it's some kind of goal, keeping in mind your longer term. And if you still continue to have money to deploy that, continue that investment, then you must continue. And one move that came in 2014 and post the general election where Modi became the prime minister of the country, we saw actually a significant run in the market, and whatever you not earned in the last 3 years, you could make up actually in 1 year. So that is the market, that's the way the market behaves. The cycle, the burst and cycles at the boom and burst is actually part and parcel of the game. At the same time, as the market keeps, as the economy getting bigger and bigger, as the companies operating in this space keep growing each year in some form or other, then naturally I think growth comes back. Therefore, from the investor's point of view, while the current trend has given some kind of uncertainty, there absolutely no doubt. There's a huge impact as an economy, huge impact on survival of many companies. At the same time, one need to also pay attention to what I mentioned earlier, how the system is actually reacting to such kind of evolving situations, and then trying to address it so that we as an economy don't go down. At the same time, companies are able to survive, and then consumer demand comes back to the normalcy. And that's something which happens always in cycles. So therefore, I always have a firm belief that the market is built in such a manner that every 3 years of bull market or 2 years of bull market follows up with the 3 years of bear market or maybe a low market. Again, another 18 months of bull market and so on. So that's where the market always behaves. If you draw the past inferences after every event. And the same way, if you have to look at the similar lines, and today, I think globally, everybody is bullish on equity, not for any other reason. The single most factor is the interest rate being low, and people have to generate a high return. Then where do I go? Therefore, equity is an investment where I can take the risk, and therefore I can come. So I'm not saying one should just jump like that in India. But at the same time, as long as one has that investment time horizon, which is a longer term in nature, and this kind of booms and bursts cycle, one has to go through continuously in order to stay invested, continue the investment, at the same time reap the benefit in the long run. When I mean long run, people again ask a question about long run. What do you mean by the long run? I always take this as an example. That is like you take up any job with the assumption that I'm going to build my career in this company and I'm going to work forever. That's why everyone actually builds the business, actually join any company, build the business. The same way, investing in the mutual fund also have to have a similar approach from the point of view of keeping it for long term. That's what I would say, Rao.
Thank you so much, Bala sir. I think it's you rightly put it in a very optimistic note. Of course, stock market is always a story of cycles and human behavior that is responsible for the overreaction in the both the directions. I request audience, one message you can take from Bala sir's message is one need to be optimistic. This is a story of cycles. And as Leo Tolstoy mentioned, says, the two most powerful tools of the wealth creation is patience and time. And keep that patience, keep that time, and be optimistic. I think, I think it's Benjamin Graham who said that in the short run, market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. And be optimistic with that. With that note, I will move to Dhiren, a little more a constructive question around investment and financial well-being. Dhiren, it is the question to ask you on the personal finance during unprecedented times. I know personal finance, we can't answer everyone on the audience. Each of us are very different. Person comes before the finance and each of us need to deal differently. Of course, but all said and done on the broad themes, I would like to ask a question. On one hand, there is a volatility linked with the equity markets. Of course, Bala sir has clarified on that, but there are credit risks associated with the debt segment. There were a lot of thoughts around it. When it comes to fixed income products like small savings, interest rates are falling. And investor is totally confused in the current scenario what to do and how to go forward. It is unprecedented on the COVID crisis, but it is also unprecedented to see these things. In this light, what would be the right approach to invest? And should one change or stick to their plan as they planned pre-pandemic times? That is the question number one to you. Maybe a follow-up question I can give immediately on that is, what are the options available to the investors when it comes to the mutual funds? And
okay. No, this is a question which everybody is asking because suddenly this crisis and 3-4 months and everybody is revisiting what is going on, and result of this crisis is that interest rates have come crumbling. The markets also went on a free fall initially, and then when nobody was expecting, it made a big comeback and has nearly recovered all the losses that it saw. Now we are witnessing that 2 quarters of virtually no business or decelerating, or the GDP numbers going down by 25%. For the first time, magnitude, a shrinking economy of this scale, and the market is showing a great resilience, despite all the apprehensions. So I think these are very unprecedented times, and the net fallout is that it is bound to have an impact. It is bound to lead to turbulence in the equity market because nobody knows what is going on. Because a lot of people turn up every day and try to bid prices, and because the real issue is that when we participate in the market, we are bidding prices based on the future cash flow that those companies will generate. But a lot of people are actually buying the tickers. They are just trying to ride the momentum. There are a lot of people who have come in the market for the first time, and they can do it with great ease. They can put their 500 rupee, and if it becomes 600 by end of the day, they are happy. So they're not investors, but they're just trying to test the ground, get experienced, or or maybe just have fun. Fixed income investors are very unusual in a sense that they are going to depend on the income from their investment. And Indians historically have been fixed income investors, simply for a variety of reasons, whether it was because they had no access to the market, or there was no methodical access to the market. Fixed income rates were reasonably high, even though they were not beating inflation. The absolute experience of doing a fixed deposit earning 10% is something which many people will remember. And 10% looks good enough, even though inflation was very high. People were not looking at the real rate of return. People were looking at the absolute rate of return, which was decent. So in that sense, this is a big rejig. People have to really get used to it. They have to lower their expectation, and people will have to assume risk, because there is no way around. How do you actually increase your income? Because income, your expenses will not come down if you are in retirement, and if you retired 10 years ago, and if you have been used to earning 8%, which was good enough. And there are serious challenges for those people, and I think those people are going to be in a great difficulty, because the risk of outliving your savings and that grim picture, when I look at it, it's going to be very significant. It is going to have a very serious impact on your dignity, the way you live. Suddenly, from being financially independent, you become dependent. So people will have to, there are only two ways around it. One is to lower their expenses, which is a very hard thing to do. And the other is to assume risk, which is also a very hard thing to do, because, you have come to an age where your income can't, your income has come to an end from your work, and you have never been exposed to the market volatility. And I think mutual funds can really play a very substantial role with the conservative vehicle, or, mixing it up, lower expenses, conservative income equity fund, because that looks like the only hope to me. Because interest rates, you can't really jack it up, because if RBI is going to reduce the interest rate to bump up the economy, that is the reference rate. And then if you take greater risk on fixed income, it is just not worth it, because the side effect of all this crisis is that there will be companies which will be in distress. There will be companies which will default. There will be companies which will actually be downgraded. And mutual fund actually is a very dangerous vehicle from that standpoint, because mutual funds are reasonably safe. They're well designed. They're well constructed. But many a times, the real problem happens when there is some problem in one fund with one of their instruments. A lot of investors behave in a manner which actually causes the greatest risk. So how do you create a vehicle which will overcome that? I think, and gradually driving investors to assume risk in a methodical way, and enhancing the return, because your ability to protect the worth of your capital, your need to generate reasonable income from your investment, these are two non-negotiable things. And excuse me. And it's very difficult to, it's very difficult to comfort a 70-year-old person with a whole new way of doing it. So how to do it in a calibrated way? Yes, it's much easier today to frame those rules, or and I think this is a place where we talk of all these big things, but that artificial intelligence and all the kind of onboarding mechanism that is being done, or preventing mis-selling. This is an area where I think mutual funds can also play a very significant role in terms of a kind of investor coming in, what kind of instrument, what kind of fund, and if there are checks and balances and some guidance at the time of making an investment. That I think, because many a times investors will be, investors are extremely vulnerable, and people will take word and they will be missold something, or they'll be misguided into something. There won't be anything wrong with the product. It just might be an inappropriate thing. And that is the place where I think if mutual fund companies as well as intermediaries are able to put some checks and balances in terms of people of over 60 years of age, when they're investing, they have understood what they are going for. There is a possibility that there could be an over 60-year-old investor who is willing to assume all the risk, and understandably, that's fine. But a lot of investors who may not be doing it without the understanding, I think, putting those checks and balances will be a great service. And that will be a long-term contribution to people benefiting from it in a sustainable way.
Thank you so much, Dhiren. I think I will take the last part of it. Next question I will put to Bala sir after I go back to Varun and checks and balances how mutual fund industry is going to evolve and look at. Varun, I am coming back to you. Earlier you said investments probably boring, but I think George Soros who said if it is mutual investing is like a fun and entertaining, probably you are not going to make any money. And good investments are always boring, and of course mutual funds long term is always boring. I keep telling to audience when I go to rural India, it is typical like a Indian family or wife you married for lifetime. That's where sometimes boring, but you will have a comfort of everything. And let me get back to your question. I think you spoke about the youngsters and various age group people who are coming in, but there was one statement during the COVID time, few lakhs of young investors have gone to the digital mode and also direct stock platforms. And our chief of our regulator, our SEBI's chief, has given one press statement I read about. I'm not very sure whether he said that about or not. And these Abhimanyus who have come to the market, it's and what is your advice to these investors on the basic tenets? And truly they are Abhimanyus, then what is that check review they need to learn and get it? And what are those three questions are frequently asked questions at Paytm you get to know from the young investors?
Thank you, Rao, for the good question. Again, I think, I said, I didn't say mutual fund is boring. I said finance is boring, right? And I continue to say that because my life would be super nice if I could love working for what I love, because my essence of who I am and my well-being and my happiness, and the one thing we all work for is a good smile all day long and a nice sleep at night, right? That's the only thing at the end of the day which matters. Money starts to matter. And I think from our perspective and from a younger generation perspective, you spoke about Abhimanyus, and I think you say, hey, what can we do? What would my advice be to them as we go along? I think there are 3-4 different things that I would tell them. But let me first start with what questions do they actually ask us? The first question everybody asks is my money safe in an app, right? And I think they realize after doing a transaction that the money is safe, right? The first time you experiment something, you go inside, there's a bit of anxiety saying, hey, this is real money. I worked very hard for this. I've spent hours together. I've had some great moments behind earning this money. Now that I transfer it, I want to enjoy my life, right? Because it's all about life at the end of the day. And one thing I've loved about this crisis, there's a lot of wrong things, but I think Indians have finally started to value life, including myself, right? And what it's worth. So the word well-being has come out. But then the question at the back of your mind is, hey, can I trust this app? And that's question number one. Question number two is, can you please make all this super simple? Can you make this as simple as my Instagram post? Can you make this as simple, like you gave the example saying, hey, how much time you spend brushing up a photo, writing the right tags before the post goes on Instagram, right? People spend a lot of time doing that these days, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, we had TikTok before. It's a lot of time, but why wouldn't they spend the same amount of time on money, right? Because there's a fear. The second thing people ask is, can you please make it super simple? If there is a magic wand and I tell you I'm willing to lose 20% and I want to make 20%, and that's my risk appetite, can you just take that money and make sure that that happens, right? And I think that's the expectation, the second expectation. The third expectation, I think the world has become instant. So people now are challenging us. Customers want redemptions 24 hours. They want instant gratification, instant everything, and they don't want to pay for it, right? And so I think there's these are three big questions that we get saying, how can you go instant? How can we trust you? And then, how can you make this whole experience something very, very, very simple, right? And those are three questions. My advice to some of the younger investors, as they come in, is very simple. First, live your life, right? Finance and everything else that you do is to live your life. So you live your life, allow the finance professionals to manage, right? You'll not find a CEO like Mr. Bala. You'll not find somebody like Dhiren who is knowing better than anybody, mostly in India, on what to talk, what is right research. And hopefully you'll not find somebody better than Paytm to get those investments done, right? But then live your life and leave what I call the boring part of it to professionals. And that's why I love mutual fund Sahi Hai, or all the other things that you mentioned. That's advice number one. So live your life, but let the professionals do their job, because as a user, as an investor, you'll never have the time. Till you want to make finance your job, right? Till you want to make finance your profession. If you want to make finance your profession, please come and play in the markets. and try and beat Dhiren and Banu, right? And I think that's the fun part of it. But that's message number one. Message number two is split your goals. Do both short-term and long-term. I think the world, people have started to realize that travel, the next mobile phone, the small car, a small apartment, a great party, a nice weekend with family costs money. And so start saving for the small goals, because you will see the success and a smile at the end of 1 year that, hey, I gave my money to Aditya Birla Mutual Fund. You know what? I put every month 10,000 rupees. And at the end of it, I took my family to Kerala and we sat in a nice boat house. And when you're doing that and you're sipping either on beer or a nice coffee or tea, the happiness that will come, somewhere you can thank us, and hopefully those thanks comes to us and, we're happy. And I think do that, because your short-term goals are as important as your long-term goals. And I would urge youngsters not to think about, hey, what am I going to be when I'm 70? There's no point. Maybe you'll not even hit 70. Maybe you would have made 10 times the money, but, live for tomorrow a bit. Also live for your emergency. At the same time, as much as I say, live for tomorrow, live a bit saying, hey, what's going to happen to me 5 years from today? Maybe I want to do my own startup. Maybe I don't want to work for these large companies, Dhiren, Birla and me run large companies. Maybe, all these companies and all these CEOs, they're boring, they're nonsense, they keep talking. Maybe you don't want to work for us, you want to do your own stuff. And if you want, you need the corpus. So can you save for that? Can you save for a 2-year vacation and go forward in that? I think so. Have a mixture of very short-term goals and very long-term goals. And lastly, I think embrace technology, because technology is going to run hard and harder and harder. The later you embrace technology, I think the worse that it's going to be. And the best example I'll give you is the direct funds. Please embrace direct funds. It saves you 1% every year almost. So if you're investing ₹1 lakh for 10 years and your corpus goes from 1 lakh to 10 lakhs, you're almost losing a few lakhs by doing regular funds. And I think that's something very important which investors should think about. But thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thanks, Sridhar. I think I'll also give a follow-up question to you quickly. And, nice answer. I mean, I take 3 S's from your answer. One is keep it simple so that you can be successful. Once you are successful, you can always have a smile. But I have one question to you, because when it comes to the digital, people are little worried about the risk management, not on the investments, but on the cyber security. When technology comes, cyber security and online frauds, and the post-pandemic, some of these frauds have been read more on the news headlines. And what is your advice, and as a platform, how you all mitigate that risk?
Yeah, no, I think brilliant question, Mr. Rao. I'm first of all very happy that Indian consumers stand up and say my data is important, my privacy is important, my cyber security is important. I think the fact that we've reached there and these questions are becoming part of mainstream life is fantastic. Right? I think that's the first thing, because user knowledge and awareness is the first step to solving problems. Because the fact that you ask this, a lot of investors ask me this every day. Companies like ours are challenged and we do our job better and better. Regulators do a better job and industry participants do. So first, I'm happy that you asked, because it's the right question. Users should value their data privacy. Users should value their cybersecurity. As Paytm, I think for us, these are very, very important things. Paytm Money, for example, if you put money, we've got all sorts of IT security layers, data privacy layers. If we've signed to you, committed to you, we don't share your data, we don't do it. Right? If you've committed, and there are customers who write to us saying, hey, Varun, on Twitter, because I take customer complaints myself, they write to me saying, hey, why can't you tell me on Twitter your balance? I'm like, you can't give your password away on Twitter to everybody. You can't write your phone number, please delete it, right? And so all these conversations happen. And I'm happy that people are asking. As Paytm Money, as industry participants, I think a lot of checks and balances that are done. My only very simple, message to investors would be, I think the companies now, the regulator, the government are doing a fantastic job making sure this is important. But at your end, do some very simple things. Like when you ride a bike, you wear a helmet. When you cook, you're a bit away from burning oil. When you swim first time in an ocean, I hope you wear a life jacket. Right? When you first time, these days, everybody has a hand sanitizer, you wear a mask. Do some very basic things like don't share your password. Be cautious, check your account once in 3 months if you're a passive investor. But just do some basics right. And the system and the security is built out to protect you. We are all very, very conscious about it across the ecosystem. So your money is safe, everything else is safe. But yeah, please wear your helmet before you sit on a bike.
Mr. Rao, I have one small question for Varun while, in the context of his answer. Varun, your third point of that, what investors expect, they want something super simple and they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for it. How do you make a sustainable business when they are unwilling to pay?
Yeah, so I'll take this question. Maybe I'll also take some facts so people understand that. So as a direct mutual fund platform, Paytm Money, is India's now #1 SIP platform. We have 6.6 million odd users, and we don't charge our customers anything, and AMCs don't pay us anything, right? So today, today our revenue model on the mutual fund side is zero, but we've invested in this business, and our business plan is to break even maybe in 3 to 5 years time. And the way we do that is now we've launched our equity broking platform. We're very straightforward on that. So we hope that some of the investors, with time, as they start to gain confidence in the markets, as their SIP start to mature, want to directly own a stock, either as an investor or as a trader, in either case. So that's A, revenue model. B, we hope that our consumers get attached to the Paytm brand. Paytm has many services all the way from UPI to payment gateways to Paytm games to lending to insurance and all of that.
Okay.
And our hope is using all that, we make money, and we are able to create a sustainable enterprise. I'm always telling our consumers that if we don't sustain, I have a staff. I have about 400 families to manage. I'm responsible for them. And our goal should be to take care of them because they are as important to me as my customers. And that has to be done in a sustainable way. So making profits is important. They are all investors, so hopefully they understand that a profitable venture is important. I see customers today, Dhiren, back to your question, understanding the difference between direct and regular. They start to understand. Yeah, and that's why it starts to look better than what it was maybe 2 years back.
Thank you once again, Varun. Thanks, Dhiren, for that question. Varun, I like your confidence given on the cybersecurity. Friends, one of the organizations, digital platforms, they take care broadly, but it is also our individual responsibility. Like the way we are protecting ourselves as a mask, you need to get yourself cybersecurity right. Don't be fall prey. I mean, most of the times it happens from our end. We need to take care of ourselves. Thanks for that wonderful answer. And I'll go back to Bala sir with the same question, continuing it. Bala sir, during the lockdown, I think Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund, of course, mutual fund industry ensured that no investor should find any difficulty to redeem their money and provided the facility to pause SIP2, and they've gone fully digital on all transactions. I think it's a commendable job. I think it's a mutual fund industry truly SAIA in that regard. And it has created the liquidity to the people have not struggled with. And during this, as a tenure of, you are chief at AMFI and you are part of the regulator, and what are the regulators and industry regulator as well as AMFI is taking the steps to keep interest confidence first, and that ensuring that they invest their hard-earned money, but they can feel comfortable. Of course, the market, not on the market volatility, but they can feel comfortable. As these aspects play a key part in achieving the financial well-being.
Yeah. Interesting, Rao. From the regulation point of view, as you rightly put it, that during this period of after every crisis, regulation becomes more stronger, keeping in mind the interest of investors. That is not just happening today, it's happened, I think, historically. The proof of the strength of the mutual fund, it comes actually how the mutual fund manages the hard-earned money of the investors during the tough time. And once again, the industry has proved that during the period of COVID, how they can manage the investors' money, not just only in the form of generating return, that anyway that is directly linked to the market. And what we can do the best is actually the process that is involved in making this investment outcome, as well as giving the right investment experience into the investors, dealing experience to the investors. And during this COVID period, as you rightly put it, not only the industry has grown in size during this period, especially in the fixed income space, huge amount of transaction volumes on a daily basis could be handled without any hiccups to the investors, whether with respect to their subscription that they would have done using the online platform of the mutual fund, or using the online records for actually meeting the redemptions, or having a query during this period for withdrawing any money for any emergency purpose. Those requests are also being handled in a manner That is not, no investors would have been asked to go back saying your signature is not matching, your account is not matching, and probably the team would have done a greater amount of handholding of the customers in guiding them as to how they can use the digital platform for fulfilling the transactions at their wish and will. So that's something, in my view, I think industry handled quite well. Now, all these things which is possible only because the industry was ready with actually a digital platform, whether it is onboarding of customers. In our case, during this period of COVID period, as Aditya Birla Mutual Fund, we started creating a video KSC purely to ensure that during this period, somebody wants to make investment, we should not deny the fact that deny his investment, saying you are not KSC compliant customer, therefore I'll not take your money. You come back as soon as lockdown gets lifted. So it has to be done. We're using the technology that I think we could do it. I think industry could adapt to that. Lastly, with respect to the regulation, I think as you rightly mentioned, during this period, the regulatory framework actually got further strengthened with respect to increasing the transparency with respect to the portfolio disclosure. During this period, I think most of the people get worried about their portfolio as to where my money is invested, and normally we all disclose the portfolios on a month-on-month basis. This time around, severe regulation got changed, where every 15 days the portfolios will be disclosed, so that the more the portfolio disclosure from the investor's point of view, the more the comfort they are able to draw from the point of view of ensuring that they have seen this portfolio is good, and therefore they can take an informed call, or anybody who advises their customers for their investment advice can also look at it using the disclosure that is coming in. There are many such initiatives that are taken to this period. I must also mention during the COVID period, while most of the people are not working from office, I think work from home not only actually increased the level of work that they would have done in terms of time that is spent in handling the whole day-to-day activities. I must also mention, because we do work closely with regulators in many areas, I must mention here that even a regulator during this period, probably they would have done far higher work or high level of involvement from their side, bringing industry people together in framing any policy framework which is the best interest of investors and boost their confidence in the long run. So there's all these things that have happened during this period. Therefore, I would assume the industry is very well prepared for handling any such situations more seamlessly, and ensure that the investors' protection is not just taken care only from the point of view of their investment, even from the service angle, whether it is using technology or a better service, other mode of servicing. All these things have been handled very efficiently during this period. Therefore, I always, as you rightly put earlier, the mutual fund sahi hai, remains sahi hai, not just only on the investment side, even from any other angles.
Thank you so much for that, Bala sir. I think to the paucity of time, I would like to wind up here before the next speaker, but it's very well said, Bala sir. I think, mutual fund regulator and AMFI and the industry leaders, they all worked during WFH work from home to create wealth from home to all of you. I think it's a phenomenal job done by the industry. And before I wind up, last question to each one of you. This pandemic has given definitely a lot of lessons. 3 wonderful CEOs are here with us and with a rich experience. Can you share one quick experience, one personal finance lesson, what people can take back home from you? What is that you would like to share? Start with Dhiren.
You must have a plan, and you must stick to that and make that plan work all through. So if you don't plan, nothing will happen.
Thank you so much, Dhiren. How about you, Varun?
Good question. So you're asking us rapid fire questions. Now, I think on our side, my only one recommendation is learn to enjoy life. You worked very hard to make your money work hard. Once you've made a bit of profit, sometimes enjoy those profits. So if you're holding, stay focused on short-term goals and your long-term goals. It allows, but enjoy the fact that you made money. It's good to see it on an app going up and down, but I think it's even better when you're on a holiday with your family, because the magic of that is just special. It's the happiness you work so hard for. I think that's important.
Thank you so much, Varun. I think we have started from the planning and also enjoy. And one can enjoy. Sometimes you need to distance, like a social distancing. You need to have a portfolio distancing for some time during the turbulence. Over to you, Bala sir. What is one lesson you would like to teach?
Of course, this kind of uncertain period, what is most important actually discipline of investing, which comes in the form of continuing to keep the confidence on asset allocations, whether it is in fixed income, whether it's in equity or any other asset classes. I think keeping a right balance between each of the asset classes in the investment with the high conviction that I'm making this investment for longer term and not for short term. Therefore, holding on to discipline of asset allocation and keep to the success. That's the key learning that also came to this COVID period, the way the markets have also been behaving.
Thank you so much for it, Bala sir. I think, today's theme, we said take a dip and have a financial journey. You can purify your financial soul. Three of you, I can also draw a line of DIP. You said the discipline and discipline on every aspect. I think, you can enjoy where Varun said, you need to invest it rightly, then you can enjoy. That is a discipline of investments. And that is rightly put it by Dhiren, by right planning. I think discipline, investing rightly and planning smartly. With that tip, I thank you, three of you, for this. And please stay back for the last. We can take questions. Swamiji is here. We will invite him. I'm sorry, Swamiji. We are delayed by 10 minutes more. We took, and of course, Swamiji has to leave by 6 o'clock. I think next session quickly. Swamiji, for like a TED talk, we will invite you quickly here. And over to you, Swamiji. And I'll introduce Swamiji to the audience. As I earlier said, Puja Swamiji, is known as Swami Sukhabodhananda. We call, is a corporate guru. He has written more than 118 books. And during this COVID time, to put it very short, Swamiji, apart from Gyandhan, he has created an Annadan project. The Prasanna Trust has provided meals to over 25 lakh people. And it's a pleasure to have Swamiji to guide us today on the emotional well-being. Swamiji, over to you, and we look forward to seek your guidance in the next 20 minutes on this.
I can't. Okay.
I think others can put on the mute so that
you can hear me. Okay, thank you,
me,
Rao.
Swamiji. We can hear you.
I just heard last 10 minutes about your dip, so it was very nice, right? So Bala talked about. I just came last 10 minutes. Bala talked about discipline, and I would like to say, to be a discipline is to be a disciple. The word discipline comes from disciple, and disciple means one who is willing to learn, willing to unlearn, willing to relearn. So therefore, right, so discipline is, please see, to be a disciple. Right, in the Bhagavad Gita also, when Arjuna said, I am a disciple, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam, only then Lord Krishna started teaching. So Bala, the word discipline comes from the word disciple. Alright, disciple is to be learn, unlearn and relearn. Beautiful. Alright, I don't remember, Varun, he talked about happiness and investment. I don't know, I have only few minutes because I have another talk which is there. So already Rav said I should be like a TED talk. Alright, first thing I would like to ask, where should we invest on? I'm not talking about financial investment. Where should we really invest on? Alright, whatever be the investment you do, unless you invest on yourself, invest on learning, please see, alright, with any amount of investment you can be stupid. So I will say investment is on learning, right? We have to invest on oneself. Therefore in Sanskrit we say Atma Bodh. So therefore very nice. And the other gentleman, I forget his name, who he said about planning. So therefore I say plan purposefully, prepare prayerfully, proceed positively and pursue persistently, right, is the whole thing. So taking from all this, I like to just say what I have to talk of emotion well-being. Let me start off with a simple small example. 3 professors of philosophy one evening goes to the railway station to send off the 4th professor who was supposed to address a very important seminar in the neighboring state. So these 3 professors go, right, meet the 4th professor. That person keeps his luggage in the bogie. Since there's time, all these 4 professors of philosophy start discussing a very subtle aspect of Eastern philosophy. And they get so submerged in the discussion, they fail to appreciate the train had already started off. And these 4 professors were so absorbed in their discussion, and one of them screamed, "Hey, the train has already started off." The last bogie was passing, so all 4 of them charged to the last bogie with the hope they'll enter the last bogie and come back to their respective seats. So they all rushed to the last bogie, 3 of them were successful in entering to the running train. The 4th professor could not run into the running train. He sat down very despondent, seeing the train off with his friends. A passerby was passing that side. He taps him on the back and says, "Sir, don't be so despondent. In a matter of 15 minutes, there's going to be another train which is going to come. You can catch up with your 3 friends." To which the 4th professor tells him, "I'm sad not because I could not enter into the train. I'm sad because of my 3 friends who entered into the train." This man says, "Why should you be sad? Those 3 friends who entered the train were successful because they are effective in running into their running train." To which the 4th professor said, "Those 3 professors had come to send me off, and in the hustle and bustle they have entered into the train." Friends, I would love to give this example, and I've written this in my books there. No, these 3 professors had come to send off the 4th professor, but in the hustle and bustle they have entered the train. Now, they were effective in running into the train. Yes or no, friends? They were effective in running to the train. But in spite of being effective, deep within they were ineffective. They were successful in running into the train, but their success was a sign of failure. Why? Those 3 professors had come to send off the 4th professor. They were not aware of the context. And since they were not aware of the context, even an effective action is really ineffective. Even though successful, one is a failure. So therefore, why? They were not aware of the context. Friends, all of us at this time, let us be aware of the context and not be very hurried and impatient and jump into whatever being wrong investment or whatever blah blah blah. So let us be aware of the context of life. I think it's Varun who says be happy, right? Learn to be happy, right? And to be happy, right, is very inexpensive. All getting investment experts like all of you is expensive. But to be happy is very inexpensive. I'll give you an example. In deep sleep, when we are sleeping, we don't eat a gulab jamun, we don't give rasgulla, we don't see our bank account. Without all these objects, we are still happy. Where did that happiness come from? In Sanskrit we say, aham kimapi na janami sukhena nidramaya anubhoyete. I did not know anything, but I was very happy. Happiness came from within, right? I didn't have, but in the waking state, our mind has a delusion. Happiness comes in from money, even though money has a purpose. In our delusive state, we think happiness comes from sexuality, even though sex has its place. But people having multiple sex, still they're not happy, or as the prostitutes must be the most happy people. So therefore, please understand, right, all money as a place, position as a place, happiness is very, very simple, sir. It is within. As Varun says, learn to invest in learning to discover this happiness, and from that platform of happiness, learn to earn your money, learn to be intelligent, learn to be disciplined, learn to plan dexterously with acumen and sagacity. I hope it makes sense, friends. And to be happy also involves a very beautiful thing. I like to say this. I'll say it in Hindi, please. It's Hindustani. जीना सरल है, मरना सरल है, शादी करना भी सरल है, तलाक भी सरल है. तो मुश्किल क्या है? सरल होना ही बड़ा मुश्किल है. To get married is simple, right? To get divorced is simple. All this simple. So what is difficult? To be simple is very difficult, sir. So live a simple life, right? Inwardly, don't bring ego. And you have a simple life, ego. I'm not saying you have to be with dhoti or with underwear. Inwardly be simple, sir. Then you will not be impatient. You will not be very greedy. And then you find intelligence will tell you how to dexterously march forward. I hope it is making sense what I am saying, right? And therefore, it does not make sense when our IQ is messed up, when our EQ and emotional quotient is messed up, or SQ, our spiritual quotient is messed up. I'll give an example, will clear. I give an example, it seems 3 people go to heaven. They land in heaven. Alright, and it seems, right, angel, the main angel asks the 3 people, okay, how many affairs did you have on the earth? Alright, because accordingly they have to place them there. How many affairs in the earth you had? And this man had to be honest in front of the angel, and he said, I had 40 affairs. So the angel gave him in heaven a cycle. Right? So he went happy, oh my God, I got a cycle, so I can navigate through, went away. The second person, he was from Bombay and asked this question, how many affairs did you have on the earth? He said 10 affairs, and therefore he gave him a scooty. Alright, gave a scooty, he felt very happy, alright, went scooty. And the third person was from Chennai. How many affairs do you had on the earth? He said, I had no affair, the only affair is with my wife. The angel was happy, gave him a beautiful Mercedes Benz of the standard of in heaven, Mercedes Benz, and he was very happy and came out. And then the other 2 friends saw this man, this Chennai guy, very, very sad, very, very unhappy. He said, why are you unhappy? You have got Mercedes Benz. Alright, we have got a cycle and a scooty, a Mercedes Benz. To which this man says, I am unhappy not because I got Mercedes Benz. I saw my wife there, she was going on cycle. That means he had 40, she must have had 40 affairs. See this weird logic, sir. This weird logic, in heaven also he is unhappy. Alright, if you have been honest with reference to your wife, you have got your Mercedes Benz which is given, enjoy heaven. Why you compare yourself with your wife who's in heaven, who's going on cycle? So this weird logic messes up our IQ. And when your IQ, intellect is messed up, your emotions also gets messed up. When your emotions gets messed up and there is insecurity in the market, you become tensed. Listen carefully. Where intelligence is messed up, when there is insecurity in the market, which all these experts like Varun and all the Abala, etc. have spoken, you become messed up. Right, sir? But why should you be messed up when there is insecurity? I have been talking too much, so I will take a small sip of water, please. Why should you be messed up if there is insecurity? Please, I am pausing. Why, if there is insecurity in the market, why should you feel messed up? Why? Oh, because of insecurity. Insecurity doesn't create problem. Then what creates problem? It's your perception towards insecurity creates a problem. I love trekking. I love, traveling in Africa and Tanzania, etc. I do a lot of safaris, not the COVID time. But in safari, when we go in Kenya, Tanzania, in the middle of the forest, we pitch our tents. There is danger. There is unpredictability. You ask any lover any safari lover in Kenya, Tanzania who likes wildlife, the dangers of insecurity brings in a different type of alacrity in them. Don't you go through a roller coaster, go through fear, and does not your brain enjoy going through a roller coaster? If you can do that, sir, because somewhere you have trained to enjoy a roller coaster, you have trained to enjoy a safari, you have trained to enjoy surfing on the waves. Sir, it is unpredictability is not the issue. Your acumen to deal with unpredictability is an issue. So you need a dham of an IQ, and you have a dum of a EQ, your emotional quotient. Now, pause for a moment. All right? Pause for a moment. I say there are 3,000, roughly it is said, there are 3,600 emotions. Roughly, psychologists say there are 3,600 emotions. There is no time for me to show keynote because already Rao has given thing, go like a TED talk. All right? So I will not show the keynote. 3,600 emotions roughly are there. Now keep that as aside. Like anger, jealousy, love, kindness, adventure, thrill, blah, blah, blah. Huh? No, it's awkward. All right? 3,600 emotions are there. Okay, if you can show the keynote, Shakila, fine. 3,000, she'll show the keynote if possible. There are 3,600 emotions roughly. Some of the emotions you see in the keynote, if you can place it. All right, that is one important aspect. Now, also, please see, roughly 3,600 emotions are there. The first one, yeah. Right, roughly 3,600 emotions are there. All right. Now the question is, as who is the person? I think it's Varun, isn't it? Who said, where are you investing? All right. He said, if I'm not mistaken, invest on happiness. If somebody is investing on anger, jealousy, hatred, upset, frustration, despondent, instead of goodness, forgiveness, zeal, encouragement, please understand it's so stupid, your investment is. So roughly the 3,600 emotions, okay, go to the next slide please. In the planet, in the cosmos, there are lakhs and lakhs of planets, isn't it? But only Earth is livable, and maybe next is Mars. All right, there are so many planets, lakhs of planets in the cosmos, but only Earth is livable, isn't it, friends? So too also, go to the next slide, go to same to also please understand all those emotions that you have, right? Like only Earth is livable or next is Mars, so to all emotions, anger is not livable, jealousy is not livable, frustration is not livable, despondency is not livable. What is livable is love, happiness, adventure, joy, bliss, they are livable. Like Earth is livable, so too some things. So you need to learn how to choose emotions which are livable, how to love holding those emotions, how you have to lead those, and that is living. All right, that is living. All right, so to also please see, if that is living, you should know how to maximize an experience and minimize worry. Now you have to love, you have to learn and lead yourself. How to maximize? Now with COVID time, you have time with your family. Maximize that happiness. Don't worry about market too much. Let the market be a challenge. Don't worry about, hey, I'm not going to the office. All right. Learn how to operate from home with more acumen, with more sagacity. Then you will know the art of love, learn and lead. Please see, all right, please see, change, come to the main screen please. All right, come to the main screen. This is what you need to learn. All of you, this is what you have to really learn how to do that. If you understand, then there's a right emotion. Now this is sort of like how a musician learns to sing, how as a martial artist, I'm a student of martial art, how to take a fall, we learn how to take a shot, we learn how to give a shot also. Ultimately you are a product of your discipline. So if you do this, you will find an emotional fitness comes. Now pause for that moment. In this emotion, right, I'll say a beautiful Urdu shairi and I want you to listen to this. ख्वाहिश ऐसी करो कि आसमान तक जा सको, मगर दुआ ऐसी करो को खुदा को पा सको। यूं तो जीने के लिए पल बहुत कम है, जीवो ऐसा हर पल जिंदगी पा सको। He says, ख्वाहिश ऐसी, have aspiration to go high. ख्वाहिश ऐसी करो आसमान तक जा सको, मगर दुआ ऐसी करो को खुदा को पा सको. Pray in such a way I experience God. Life is very short. Learn how to squeeze life from the experiences of life. Sir, you need to explore like a pearl diver. You need to explore into this. But to explore into this, if your life is lived by like and dislike, most of us, our ground of being, I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this. I don't like my neighbor's nose, but I like my neighbor's beard. You become so fussy with your likes and dislikes. And Lord Krishna in the Gita says beautifully, Raga Dvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischaran. He says, drop your like and dislike, sir, and come from commitment, and you will see your life is a joy. We get too narrowed down to our like and dislike. Anything we are fussy with reference to what I like, what I dislike. Pause for a moment. Isn't it true, peace? Oh, you may say it's natural. No, sir, it is not natural. It is very ordinary. Don't use a wrong word. Have linguistic acumen. It's ordinary to get limited by like and dislike. But it's extraordinary to come from commitment. And if you want to be a winner in life, if you want to have champion skills, you have to come from commitment, sir. If you want champion skills, you have to come from commitment. Does it make sense what I'm saying? So therefore, do you want to be a champion? Do you want to be a winner in life or a loser in life? Loser will always give a bundle of reasons why he is miserable. Winners are too busy creating success. So I am saying first drop like and rigid likes and dislike. Then what should I do? Convert your like and dislike into love. Convert your like and dislike into love. Now try to bring the energy of love. Right? Like how a musician, when he is singing, tries to bring in feeling, and as he practices in bringing feeling, then you find the melody of feeling comes. Listen to this beautiful Urdu shairi. प्यार का जज्बा नया रंग दिखा देता है, अजनबी चेहरे को महबूब बना देता है. प्यार का जज्बा means the power of love. नया रंग दिखा देता है, creates a new color and a flavor. अजनबी चेहरे को महबूब बना देता है. A stranger's face becomes your beloved. Right? That's the power of love, sir. Try to bring love in whatever you do. Then you will do what you love and love what you do. See, for example, I am not used to talking to a blank audience like this. I am sitting in my mandir and only 3 people are there now. In a huge hall that I am right now. But it is to be filled with thousands of people. 3 people. They have heard me 100 times and therefore they look at me with a blank. Just joking. They are all loving people here. 3 people. And I have an 87-year-old mother. Whenever she hears me talking, she goes to sleep. She says, your words are so good, I don't get sleep, I sleep here. See, there's a benefit of a talk also to go to sleep. So what I'm saying, I'm not used to this blank audience. But now I have trained myself to love. Alright, and therefore in this COVID-19 I have done so many. Today I have got 3 talks. And before yesterday I think I had 2 talks. My vocal cord is trained, but I love. So when you start loving what you do and doing what you love, you will find you will become bigger than the problem. Problem will not define you, problem will refine you. Does it make sense, friends? Alright, so from like and dislike, bring love. From love, bring devotion. That's emotional well-being. Bring devotion, bhakti. And when you bring devotion, Lord Krishna says, not Lord Krishna, one of his beautiful Sanskrit verses, right, endorsing Varun, right, I'll say happiness. He says, worshipping of God is bringing happiness. Varun, he says, right, a Sanskrit verse. yena kena prakarena yasya kasyapi dehinaha santosham janayet pragnyah tat eva ishvara pujanam. This alone is the worship of the Lord. A great Rishi says, tat eva ishvara pujanam. Alright, santosham janayet, create happiness. Not like what the Bollywood people are doing and the Tollywood and all people. Now you see what is happening. Everybody is taking ganja, hashish, cocaine, crack, ecstasy and trying to be happy. That is not happiness, that is pleasure. And pleasure is addictive. See in the paper, I hardly watch news. I saw today, now somebody is now questioned and Deepika Padukone has accepted, yes, we had a drug talk. Why are you taking so much of drugs? Alright, you do not know how to tap happiness from within yourself. Therefore, you need external stimulants. Alright, now for your information, alright, in my boot camp I say this information, more than please see hashish and cocaine. Can anybody guess what is more addictive than hashish and cocaine, which most of us are indulging? Can you put in the chat, please? Let me see. More addictive than cocaine. In my boot camp, I talk about this. Can anybody type and tell me what is more addictive, which most of us are doing? Can anybody type?
Swamiji, participants is disabled with the chat at this point.
I can't.
No, Swamiji. Yeah.
Chat is there, no? Oh.
No, participants do not have an access to it, Swamiji.
Okay, so I'll put off. So I'll just tell you, more than please see drugs which people are taking because they do not know the art of Varun is saying to be happy. Alright, and the Rishi says bringing happiness is God. Okay, 5 minutes more I have. Okay, I'll close it. They're telling me I have 5 minutes more, I'll close it. Now more than that, is what is sugar. And experiments, in my boot camp I do this and show, experiments have shown, please see, when rats are given cocaine and rats are given sugar, right, along the line 80% of the rats go towards sugar more than cocaine. Please understand, this is all scientific study, more than cocaine. And now where is sugar? Where is sugar? Blessed sugar is everywhere. You take bread, there is sugar. You take ketchup, there is sugar. You take maida biscuits, there is sugar. So therefore, one is an exposed enemy, next is a hidden enemy, because in the 50s and 60s, what was said is fat is bad, fat is bad. So the manufacturing industries removed fat as much as possible. When fat is taken away, right, the taste goes away, and therefore they started putting sweetness, sweet sugar everywhere in the 50s and 60s. Right, now studies have shown fat, trans fat is bad, but fat is actually good. Fat is actually good. In fact, COVID-19 time, I have come to my dream weight of 71 kgs, which I used to do martial art, aerobics, pilates, yoga, nothing, by a diet called twin diet, which I am doing, and I have reduced about 16 kgs. Every day I take 3 times butter. Every day I take 3 times cream. I have a Goshala here. I take 3 times cream. So fat now scientifically shown is good, not trans fat, regular fat. But you can't eat carbs when you are eating that. So please don't go eat fat and eat chapati and roti. So I am saying, anyway, like that apart please, that apart. Don't eat fat unless you get into proper, you should not eat carbs when you are eating fat. But now studies have shown fat is good, sugar is bad. So everywhere sugar is there, and therefore sugar is very addictive, more than cocaine. Sir, when you are addictive, what happens? Please see, your body is pulled down. Alright, and to balance it, your dopamine is increased, your adrenaline is increased, so your body gets messed up. When body gets messed up, your emotion also gets messed up. You take alcohol, somebody was saying, oh, can take beer and blah blah blah. For heaven's sake, don't take beer. When you drink to the body alcohol, body you take alcohol, you take buttermilk, it's good. All right, you take beer or alcohol to the body, you're doing to the body, but mind is getting affected. Mind is getting affected. When you worry, it is mind is worrying, body gets affected. So body mind are very interwoven. So therefore, please understand, what you eat affects your mind, what you feel affects your body. So detoxify your body, right? That is called body intelligence. Emotional intelligence bring love, kindness, and do whatever you do. And spiritual intelligence, for lack of time, I say live a simple life. I am not saying walk without slipper, no, live inwardly a simple life. All right, and you live inwardly a simple life, sir, then you learn to love life. जिंदगी गुजारने की दो ही तरीके है गालिब. गालिब says beautifully, जिंदगी गुजारने के दो ही तरीके है गालिब. एक तो मोहब्बत करना आता है, दूसरा मोहब्बत करने के नहीं आता है. One knows how to love, one does not know how to love. So therefore, please put this, sir, bring spiritual intelligence of simplicity. When you bring this, there is an emotional wellness which happens. When an emotional wellness happens, sir, you will find your life will be very grateful, grateful, grateful. Since Bala has come, and since he is a Tamilian, to him one Tirukural I would say, and end my. Yennandri kondrakam uyundam uyvillai say nandri kondramaharku. What a beautiful statement of Tirukural. He says, ingratitude, like you have all other things, anger, there is praischita, others, but if you don't have gratitude in your life, there is no kind of praischita for it. So bring gratitude. When there is an emotional cleansing, there is gratitude, sir. And when there is gratitude, your life map, your health map, your wealth map, your soul map, all becomes clear. If the mirror is clean, the reflection is clean. If you have gratitude, you will know what is good for your health. A health map. In my boot camps, I talk how to create a health map, how to create an emotional map, how to create a relationship map, a life map, a soul map, and also what a wealth map is. Don't sell yourself to money. You should know how money has to work for you. Experts are there who will tell you. I can give only a spiritual angle. Right? So therefore, your wellness is impacted health, wellness is impacted relationship, wellness is impacted the food. So therefore, it's like an octopus principle. You need to address wellness on all these angles. Thank you very much. Wonderful seeing you, Bala. Thank you, Rao and Varun, and thanks all of you. Right? I'm very sorry I have to go because I have 3 talks today first, and in another 15 minutes I have another talk for CII and to our thing. So it's so wonderful to see your faces, and thank you. All right, I hope I've added some value to your investment on this workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Indeed, we are honored to have your presence. It's like, it is a lot of bliss has come. I think with that emotional well-being naturally will come in, and your message is always profound, precise, and it's straight into inside. Unfortunately, we have to miss on this 10 minutes early. Very sorry for keeping you wait on that. Wish we can get you back and to the next session where audience can get an opportunity to listen to you. I think with that note of happiness, which is coming from Swami Sukbodhananda, name itself is a happiness for all of us. And I invite Gaurav to conclude. I think, Bala sir, we have over 100 questions, but I doubt at this paucity of time we can take those questions at this point. I request audience, please put those into the mail ID which we gave, and we assure you that we write to you for each of your questions. Either we write or we will get it to the experts like Dhiren, Varun, and we can answer from Aditya Birla whatever possible. And I think Swamiji said about how we can unmask and then the whole thing has come around happiness. The 5 pillars of success is always happiness, health, wealth, purpose, and growth. And hope we are useful to you this evening. And we are always having our investments happens with ABC. I'm not talking about our Aditya Birla Capital, but ABC is something our aspirations, belief, and commitments. And for that, I think what Swamiji spoke about is our other ABC, our attitude and our behavior and our challenges, how you manage. That will make our emotional well-being. And of course, when it has taken from the Varun's happiness, the whole context has gone, and it's like another ABC can come today is always be cheerful. I think with that, I invite Gaurav over to you to conclude. I personally thank my panel where I had a joy of enjoying with all the three CEOs. Probably three of them has given new definition of CEO to the audience. One need to have a confidence while you are investing, and one you need to have expectations lesser and experience of trust of the experience of all the people. And the last O is the optimism, and keep that optimism alive. Gaurav, please take over, and over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rao. I think first of all, great thanks. I personally enjoyed the session a lot. Sorry, I'll just put on the video in a minute. I think I would not try to articulate back, what Swamiji said. A lot of learning for me personally, and I think other participants on the panel. But just reflecting back on the session, I'd like to make some quick points here for the purpose of the audience. So I think questions that you asked were particularly, I think, pertinent in the current crisis and the current environment to both Varun, Dhirendra, and Bala. So I'm just trying to capture some of the key takeaways that I took. So I think at a macro level, what we heard is the fact that the regulator is very supportive. The interest rates are headed lower. Based on the conditions that are in India and as well as globally, if you even see the...
Your video is still off.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay, cool. So I was saying that at a macro level, I think the interest rates are headed down both in India and globally. And there's something that I think the investors are taking account of. And this crisis is also bought, so taking that, I think that's the first takeaway. Second takeaway is that given the current crisis, people have started to, I would say, take stock of things. They have a little bit of time. Fortunately, for some people, you're working from home. Other people have job losses, or they're changing professions, etc. So it gives them some time to think and also, understand and appreciate the fact that, as we call in the investment world, not to use jargon here, but black swan events, which is to say that chances with, outside of 2 sigma of deviation can happen, and they actually happen. Nobody actually predicted that a pandemic would happen, but those things can happen. And so it's very important to have a corpus built out, have an emergency pool, whether you're a 25-year-old, whether you're a 45-year-old, doesn't matter. That is something that you need to plan for. But having said that, it's also, taking the larger perspective of, what are you doing with your life? And that's something I think Varun put it beautifully, and then all of you, and then Swamiji, brought it up very well. So I won't repeat that, is to live your life, to understand, what is important in life, and be able to, enjoy, the fruits of your labor. It could be, small things that you do, and really feel gratified doing that, and not just keep running the race. And that's important as well. I think the third important point, which was a takeaway, is that, what do we do as an industry, to bring more people into the fold, and what is that product hack? What is that product innovation, especially as we look at mutual funds, which is needed, that we can do? And I think Dhirendra tried to answer that question very well, mentioning the fact that, people who are coming new to the industry, first time investments, they're doing, whether it is with 100 rupees or 500 rupees, there are 2 parts to it. One part of it is to, we guide them into doing that. So basically innovation on risk management, as I would put it, we're given the right kind of an advice to allocate their money in an optimal fashion, and to be able to guide them through the entire journey. That's one. And second, the fact is that, from a digital standpoint, at least at Paytm, we've seen that this whole thing accelerate a lot. And as well as I think you're seeing the same thing on the AMC front, which is a very, very positive trend. and also gives confidence to people that, again, like, is my money safe with an app? Is my money, can I do the entire transaction at one go and, money comes back? Can I invest and can I redeem? So the easier that you make from a product innovation standpoint and the safer that you make it, the better it is. Obviously, with cybersecurity becoming, I think as becoming a mainstream concept, it used to be the construct techies and people on one side of the world, but now it's becoming a mainstream concept in India as well. The government is committed, the industry is committed, so which is a good thing to drive this acceleration forward. It's very positive. And I think overall, and I would quote Bala here in terms of, mandate as well as a scenario looks maybe bleak at this point in time. But going forward with all the macro conditions and what the government is doing, and a supportive regulator, and industry committed to everything, I think it's very good to keep an optimistic view, and things will turn as markets and cycles turn eventually. So I think just keep the faith, and just kind of end it by saying that mutual funds say yes. So take your bets and move on. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Varun. Thanks a lot for such a wonderful takeaways, and glad to have. And closing with a Gaurav with the most respect. The name itself brings the respect, and thanks for it. And indeed, at Aditya Birla, we take a pleasure in partnering with you on this date. And I thank all the audience for being here. I think it was a great to be. I'll not take much of time. I know as you all go back out and you are using your sanitizer, you are using your mask. Probably sometimes you need to sanitize your investments, ensure that it will be wealthy and you are not getting caught into the wrong virus. At the same time, while you are using the mask, for me, MASK, mask is an acronym. Manage your wealth. M is manage your wealth with right. A is an asset allocation. S is staggered investment. K is the knowledge. I think this is what at Nivesh Mahakumbh we try to give you, that knowledge. And the signing off note, I can say SIPs always creates a wealth. But of course, for me, another SIP is save wisely, invest rightly, and plan smartly. That will always give you an SIP, that is, save, invest, and transfer. And thank you so much. And stay safe, stay home. And financial planning is a family decision. Please do discuss with your family when you are taking investment decisions. There are 2 books we give for the free downloads. Please do look at. And of course, along with the thanking mail, we do resend it to you. Thanks for joining us and wishing you a wonderful investment. I personally thank all the eminent panelists today, Mr. Bala, Mr. Dhiren, Mr. Varun, Mr. Gaurav, and Pooja Swamiji, who has given on the emotional well-being. Probably we would not have done full justification, but given the paucity of time, we need to live with it. Take the best, I think leave the rest, and we will come back with the next sign of Nivesh Mahakumbh. And thank you so much. Thanks for everyone working very hard to make this happen. And may this Nivesh Mahakumbh purify your financial life. And may you everyone can become rich. And Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. That's what we call. Let everyone be happy and peaceful and wealthy. God bless you all. Thank you so much.